like dominating presence like over on top of me.
Right.
So I can't like be cool and relax.
What if I told you, I've got something for you that's gonna make you more attractive to women. It's gonna make you sell more if you're in sales or be promoted more quickly if you're in business. And it doesn't cost you a thing. The power of your voice as a man is hugely indicative of the success of these things. Let me qualify these statements to you a little bit. Number one, when you have a strong voice as a man, you're perceived as both more trustworthy and more dominant. Two characteristics and attributes that companies look for when they're promoting people. In management, if they've got 4 different guys who are options and they've got you who they perceive as a leader, they don't know why, they perceive you that way. The strength of your voice is a huge attribute. They're gonna promote you. Now let's look at the attractiveness to women. When women are given the same picture of the same guy, accompanied with 2 different voices, number 1, weak to average, number 2, strong and resonating, great tonality, the women will rate the men significantly higher in attractiveness. So maybe you weren't born with a George Clooney grill. It doesn't matter. We're gonna put your best foot forward and make that grill as appealing as possible by having a strong, resounding, respectable voice. Now, in this video, I'm gonna give you 3 things you can immediately implement to start taking advantages of all of these things that come with having a nice, strong, resounding, deep voice. So you'll find that when you look at the trajectory and the power of a voice, it's much like a guitar. If you hold that a little bit higher, perfect. So this is your stomach, and then the strings are your larynx. So what you wanna focus on is having the power lower. Because what does it sound like? Let's see if I can do this. When you're playing like a normal chord, it sounds like this. But then if you play it higher, I don't know if you could tell it's much higher, but when your voice comes out of the top of your throat, when you have stress, your shoulders come up and you can feel the voice coming up towards the top versus your deep chest voice. I'm sure you could hear the difference even right now. The tonality is much different and the deep pitch is much different. So you always want to focus and understand you want to be releasing your voice from as deep down as possible. And notice the tendency that we all as humans have when we get stressed or when we're in situations where there's high value people around us that we really want to impress. A cute girl, you're out at the bar, watch your shoulders creep up, watch your voice come up in your throat. The first step towards improving that is just realizing it's happening. Now, the struggle is when you're in a stressful situation, you can't think about a million things. The last thing on your mind is your tonality. But once you understand your tendency to do so, your brain will work with you. And by understanding you're doing that, you'll be able to check it every once in a while. You're going up, you're a little bit nervous. Hey, how's your night going? Oh shit, it's a little bit high. How's that drink? By the way, I saw this. You can bring it down. And the cool thing is, once again, the kind of self-fulfilling prophecy is once you focus enough to bring your voice down there, you're gonna get a different reaction. And then your subconscious is gonna see that different reaction. So it's gonna kind of encourage you, oh, am I talking too high? Am I stressed? To check that a little bit more. Something I heard years ago that I thought was kind of interesting was, they were saying like when you're in the grocery store, notice your shoulders. Just because you're around a lot of people, you're crossing a lot of people, not a high stress situation, but where are your shoulders? And a lot of times your shoulders just kind of come up a little bit. Not because you're super stressed, because you're a little bit stressed, a lot different than when you're sitting on your bed in your house. So check these things to understand when you naturally feel stressed, because when you do, your voice is gonna creep up the neck and it's gonna sound weak and it's not gonna sound masculine and dominant. All you gotta do is focus, be aware. I'm gonna bring it back down and now I'm gonna sound a lot stronger, a lot more masculine, especially when you're in situations, once again, where you need to come off strong. Focus on that deep resonating voice that comes from down here. So as a man, we wanna use all the tools that can display our masculinity when we need to in our arsenal. We need to understand them. And the biggest one I truly believe is your tonality. So a brief overview of the way tonality works. There's 3 different tonalities. Rapport seeking, which is considered supplicative, rapport neutral, or rapport breaking. And a quick display after I explain what they are will be given. So tonality that has a rapport seeking edge to it, it's supplicative, ends with a twirl up at the end. It's like something, maybe someone talking to their boss, hey, how's your day? How are you? And not only does it go up at the end, but it may just be high the whole time. So here's how I'm talking normally. Hey, how are you? It immediately jumps up. That's supplicative. That's rapport seeking. That's what people typically use when they're around people who are an authority on them, maybe in their business, they're higher than them, or a girl that they think is a little out of their league. Hey, how are you drinking? Right? It's you want something from them. You're communicating, you want something from them. You never want anything from anyone. This is a pinnacle of being masculine, being a confident guy, but we'll talk about that another time. Being rapport neutral means you're talking the way I'm talking to you. Up and down inflections in your voice, just like you talk to a buddy or someone that you're very comfortable with. And rapport breaking is much like a police officer would talk to you. License and registration, please. Do you know how fast you were driving? Do you know how fast you were driving? It's deeper and it trails off with a downward fluctuation in tonality. What does this articulate to them? Well, you're not saying this, but what they're picking up on in your communication, you don't really care about having rapport with them and you don't want to make friends with them. Rapport breaking tonality, you've got nothing to gain. It's the opposite of being supplicative where you want something. Hey, maybe he's a real rich guy. Hey, how are you today? Maybe this guy can give me a job and I can make money. How are you? Versus how are you today? So you don't want anything from them. Now, understanding these tonalities is important because most people miscalculate the tone that they're speaking in. So they think they're using a proper tonality for the person they're talking to, but they're typically a half step to a full step in the direction of being more supplicative or rapport seeking. So they're talking to someone who's their equal. Let's say you're in a business setting and you say, hey, Billy, how's your weekend? And you think it's neutral, but it's up. Well, Billy, he's not a jerk, but people respond to what you tell them. What are you telling him? Hey, Billy, how was your weekend? You know what you're telling him? Yeah, Billy, you're a little bit higher than I am. I'm talking to you kind of like you're a boss. And Billy's subconscious is saying, I don't know why Barron's like this, but he perceives me as being a little higher. Maybe he knows I'm better at him at some things in the company. I don't know why, but now I'm gonna kind of start treating him that way. So watch Billy's tone start to take more of a rapport breaking as you go into that rapport seeking. Billy's gonna be like, yeah, it was good, right? A little more authoritative. So we never wanna do that. So the first step is understanding the tone that you're actually presenting. Get out a microphone. The iPhone microphones are pretty good now. All the decent smartphones now. Record them, put them through a good pair of speakers, and check your tone. A nice trick you can do is record a conversation with your boss or with a friend, and then ask someone who doesn't know either of those people, another friend, who might I be talking to? What status do they have? Are they my boss? Or do they report to me? What kind of inflections are you picking up on? And a lot of times you're gonna realize that you're speaking in a tone that's not proper or the most efficient for that specific person. So we need to understand the right tonality to use. The only way to understand that is to know the actual tone that you're speaking in. Let me look at 3 different examples. I'm gonna talk about this weekend. I went to an unbelievably good buffet at the M Resort in Las Vegas. Okay, best buffet in Vegas, or so they say. I think every casino says they have the best one.
They are though.
They are good. Yeah. Dude, the seafood one's unbelievable. So I'm gonna say that. So in rapport seeking, it may sound like this. Hey, I went to the M buffet this weekend. It was so good. Have you been there?
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, you have been there. Okay, and the rapport neutral, hey, I went to the M buffet this weekend. It was really good, even better than I expected. Okay, that's like you're talking to a friend, that's neutral. Now rapport breaking like a cop. Hey, I went to the M buffet this weekend. It was a lot better than I expected. Those are the 3 different tones. Mix and match them, but understand, once again, in that interaction equilibrium, a dude's clowning on you, the dude thinks he's got something on you, take that tone half step towards more rapport breaking. So when you're talking to him like this before, now all of a sudden, you're talking to him a little bit more like this. And he's gonna pick up on this, and once again, subconsciously, nobody realizes this. Nobody thinks about things in this depth. But subconsciously, his brain's telling him, all right, back off a little bit. This guy maybe has a little bit higher status than what I initially thought. And then once you see, the cool thing is a symbiotic relationship. Through osmosis, you're gonna get more confident. How geeky and scientific can you get?
I like it, I'm so into it. I'm like, yeah.
So through osmosis, it's gonna be a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're gonna sound more confident. He's gonna understand you sound more confident. So he's gonna start treating you as a higher value person, and it continues to go like this. That's why a lot of times when you take one step in the right direction, it just naturally, your brain wants you to be the best you can be, but you have to prove to it that it's safe and you can take those first steps. So in tonality, take that first step towards being a little more rapport breaking when it's a situation that you feel like someone's either coming down on you or it's a place you want to really exert your authority. All right, so one of the things you need to understand is how you're perceived differently, your tone, your whole communication, due to your orientation of your body. So when I'm talking to Brooke, when I'm squared up to her to the side, can you tell like this versus completely like this, it feels much different. So an example may be, hey Brooke, I heard you guys were going to Disney last weekend. How was that? Or, hey Brooke, I heard you guys were going to Disney last weekend. How was that? Now, how does that feel differently to you?
Super intense and almost confrontational because it's like dominating presence like over on top of me.
Right.
So I can't like be cool and relaxed.
Right, and it feels like I'm really in your space when I'm
like,
squared
no
up,
bubble.
doesn't it? Right, no safe bubble. Yeah, get out of here. So the way you can use that with a masculine presence is to just understand how it works. So first of all, let's talk about being empathetic. You don't always want to be this groping masculine man. So let's say someone's getting a little tight. You're talking to maybe a girl and she's showing a little body language, she's backing up a little bit. Just turn your orientation away, continue the conversation, take a little half step. But understand, a lot of guys I see when they see girls getting a little bit overwhelmed, they'll start backing up. That doesn't work. It still feels more intense. So don't worry about the proximity. Just turn your orientation. Now, let's say you're talking to a guy. I was talking about the interaction equilibrium. You want to be on the same level as the other person or a little higher, meaning their perception of your social value is the same. If they're clowning on you, maybe they're talking a little bit disrespectfully to you or they're talking down to you, well, understand it's very easy to exert a little more social pressure or authority just by squaring up to them. Now you're a man. Now they understand, and clearly she's a girl, so you're not going to talk to a guy like you do a girl, but they're going to understand as I square up to the camera like this and you start talking, you're saying the exact same thing, you're using the exact same tone, but it's perceived in a lot more strong way, which is going to help tilt that interaction equilibrium back to get you, because nobody wants to be talked down. The longer someone talks down to you, the more you feel like you're inferior, the more everyone around who sees them talking down to you sees you as inferior. So now you go up to someone else who saw you getting clowned on by this guy, and I don't mean clowned on like he's like, look at this chump, getting clowned on like he's just a little bit snide to you, but you're dealing with it. You're not doing anything to combat that. Now you go up to someone else and they're like, oh, this guy got clowned on pretty easily. They're not thinking this consciously, but in their subconscious, they're thinking low value. So we need to address this immediately. Anyone's talking to us down at all, just use that body orientation, square right up, let them know you're not going to be clowned on. It's a little bit, as she said, confrontational. That's what you want. So that's 3 of the nearly 30 different tips and techniques that you can use to increase the power of your voice and to get those benefits. But because we don't have 5 hours here, I put together a free checklist. You can go right here to download. And it's going to give you the ability to be confident going into a first date or an interview or a big annual meeting with your boss. You go through this checklist, you say, oh yeah, this, remember this. Okay, let's do this beforehand to get warmed up. Let's do this. It's going to set you in a real nice place. Almost as importantly, it's going to get you confident in your head knowing you're going in there sounding strong, where most people go in there sounding a little iffy and a little weak, and they're perceived as not confident in all these different attributes that we don't want. So go here, download that guide, and you'll be able to immediately take a step into becoming that person that commands respect the minute they open their mouth. The minute they talk to people, people stop and listen and look, and they perceive you as a leader.
Let me ask you this. Why in school are we not taught about social skills and how to interact and flirt with members of the opposite sex? It's 2 of the most important things we'll ever do in our lives. Find a mate, someone we marry and spend our entire life with and maybe have kids with, and be successful in business, roll in a corporation, do better at sales. It blows my mind how with all of the curriculum, we're teaching kids to code and do all these cool things, we completely neglect advanced social skill. So if you're interested in improving your social skill and all things pertaining to general social interaction up to the most high level, including tonality, social interaction, you can click here and I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the things I have that could help you out. Now, if you're at a point where you want to improve with your interaction with someone that you're interested in romantically, maybe you just feel like you're kind of in a rut, you haven't had any dates lately or haven't had dates with the quality of woman that you know you deserve, you can click right here and we can talk about some stuff that I've got for you that can get you dialed in on that front as well.